Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of StarrCast Podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Starr, and I'm recording this in early January, and it's that time to look ahead and, clean the closets and make your lists for the year. But I was struck in preparing guest lists for January when I came across something that I saw written and it really resonated with me. And so I invited the author of that piece to join us, Jennifer Walsh. She's been on the show before. She's been on many shows. She's a very accomplished person, and we're lucky to have her with us. So thanks for joining us this morning, Jennifer.
Thank you, Lisa, and Happy New Year to you.
Yeah, you too. So, Jennifer, just to go through your history a bit, and listeners who are interested can tune into our prior interview where we went into it in depth, but you are currently the founder and creative director of the Lost Art of Being Human Lab for short, which I think is so clever. But you have so much history in wellness, starting with opening Beauty Bar, which was the first omni-channel retail website, brick and mortar in the beauty world. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes, absolutely. Long time ago.
And that was right in the 90s?
Yes, in the 90s. Can't believe I could say that now. Now it's 2026. It's like,
oh gosh,
almost 30 years ago.
So you've been walking the walk of healthy beauty, biophilic nature, all of these things for many years. And you've been a leader in your field. In addition to I shouldn't say in addition to, but you have created so much media around this topic of well-being and health centered in you. You're an author. You were a contributor at Good Housekeeping. Perhaps you still are. For Hearst. You're also a podcast co-host. You are a faculty advisor at Harvard and University of Pennsylvania. And Walks with Walsh, of course. We can't forget about Walks with Walsh, which is Jennifer leading walks in nature, getting people outside. And of course, we know you live in a tent in the summer, and we can talk about that too. But if you follow Jennifer on LinkedIn, and you should, you may have seen the post she wrote in mid-December. I'm going to read the line which really grabbed my attention. It's that time of year, new you is everywhere. Every new year, new you assumes you're unfinished. And I want to question that. And I went, oh, wow, because I'm one of those people too. When the calendar turns, I'm like, okay, what can I do? I make lists and I want to clean things and I want to start new habits. And I think there's something valuable in that. But I think that what you're saying is we shouldn't feel that we need to. I mean, are we okay the way we are? So how do we interrupt that autopilot of January, off we go?
And because you're right, Lisa. I mean, some of those things are great, like just having goals or aspirations or things you want to do, but it has become so programmed within us to say, okay, we've turned that calendar to near, I should be fixed. I didn't lose the weight, or I didn't get whatever it might be. I didn't do the thing I should have done last year. And now I have to maybe get back to what I should have done. So I bet there's a lot of shame or guilt kind of put upon ourselves for not maybe doing something last year, but, I really need to fix, I'm not getting enough this, or I need more. There's always like this grab for I have to have, I should. There's a lot of kind of inward negativity around that there's already a weight. So there's already a weight on us instead of saying, I'm excited for, and I'm already so fully evolved and I'm going to keep learning and growth and I'm excited, but not these like things that we had to put upon ourselves to buy more product that, I need this in my arsenal of wellness that I should be buying. And I have to have more classes and I have to have the more, where wellness is really about kind of stepping back and going more simple of understanding who we are. And I think that is why I really started doubling down on who we are, why we are, is learning about ourselves, going even as far back as our ancestral understanding and, where did our ancestors come from? Maybe that's why I like what I like. The more we learn about ourselves, the healthier we become, and then realize, wow, the big picture isn't buying more things to become more well and to fix myself. It's more about understanding myself, especially going into the new year. Like, what do I really need in my soul and my spirit to feel good? do I have to buy something or can I just kind of evolve and looking back into myself?
Well, I love how you have separated the commercial side of it, right? Like, you know, buying things, procuring things, joining things, spending money in most cases, as opposed to the inward looking approach of what do we need to do? I mean, reinvention, right, is the theme of January's all around the world. Like, how do we start? But do we really need to reinvent ourselves? And I think what you're saying is we need to remember who we really are.
That's it, Lisa. And I mean, this is something I've just had to learn on myself too. And it's one of those things like, the greatest gift about age is that wisdom that comes with it of saying, okay, how many decades of my life have I spent not just being a consumer, but then trying to sell to other people? And I always think, wow, I was a part of that whole storyline of you need to reinvent, you need to buy, this is better for this is better for you now in January. And I really thought, well, we really just need to remember who we are. We remember our gifts. Remember, again, I go back to the ancestral intelligence, the original AI a lot the past few years, because the question I was thinking during COVID is everyone's looking outward and wanting validation from influencer culture or whatever, but not really, what about who we are? Who are your great grandparents? If you can find out, or who are your great grandparents? And that's where this wisdom is really so profoundly innate within us that the more we discover and peel back those layers of our own ancestors is where that intelligence is. Wow. Because maybe there's an influencer out there whose morning routine would completely disrupt what your natural body already needs, but you're not listening to your own body and your own wisdom because you're looking elsewhere to be, oh, that's a great morning routine. I should adopt it. But that might completely give an imbalance to your own body. So you have to kind of tune into yourself more than looking outward.
I guess maybe this is where journaling comes in. I don't know. I think it can be difficult to remember just sometimes I don't remember what I ate for dinner yesterday, let alone what what our habits should be. And there's this idea, a concept in what you're saying that January sort of the reinvention idea benefits from our own amnesia of not really remembering. I mean, how do we learn how to remember better? What are your tricks?
You know what's really interesting, Lisa? I think I cracked something within myself during COVID that it was a kind of, I let it, here I am in New York City, but I felt like I was living a very monastic, cloistered life for a while here because everything was shut off. And I really dove deeper into my own practice of mindfulness and my walks and listening. I was just quiet. And that quiet was kind of carried in now it's 2026, but that quiet and that understanding of really listening to not just myself. The more I listened to myself, the more I could tune into every other person, what was happening around me. So that kind of awareness, your spatial awareness is heightened, your social awareness, like what are you receiving from other people or other places that you're entering? And how do you feel in that space with that person or whether it be a room? You're much more in tune with your own body. So it's kind of just getting quiet in a very noisy, distracted world. It is harder and harder to do this. So it's a practice. It's a practice of how do you find quiet in your day? I mean, it's really hard for so many parents that have children, or maybe you're a caretaker for someone else in your family or a loved one. So it's very hard to find that, but it is so very important to kind of get that slowdown to listen. Because I always say like technology is wonderful, but if we're spending so much time on something soulless, if somebody needs a plug, electricity, that's not a living thing. And the more we're around living things that are giving that energy from itself to each other, that's where that higher, I don't mean it like a frequency or vibration, but it's an emotional awareness of how your body feels in the space and place you're in. So that quiet is what I talk about a lot to people. Find that stillness. How are you doing it?
When you say quiet, you can interpret that as, well, not speaking, right? You listening more than speaking, which is something I think many of us should learn how to do better. But beyond that, I mean, if you're quiet all day, what does that mean really, Jennifer, in your life? Do you I mean, of course you speak sometimes, but I think there's a bigger meaning to this than just not opening your mouth.
That's a great point. Even just the quiet for me is when I go for a walk, I don't listen to a podcast. I'm not
Hmm.
getting external anything. I'm just trying to listen to the world around me at that time. And that kind of listening helps me tune into the environment. So I know exactly what time of day it might be because maybe there's a light reflection on my, so just when I say listen and quiet, it's more of just taking time away from technology for a little while and don't
Hmm.
play sounds and don't do anything. And it's really hard. It's really hard to do this. So I'm really working on trying to and that quiet could be 20 minutes. It could be 15 minutes, whatever you might have. And even if I walk around my block, it's very, very noisy, sometimes and chaotic in New York City. So I don't get a lot of just kind of, ah, but I know if I go to the park just 2 blocks away, 3 blocks away, there's a little bit more of that stillness where I can kind of tune into the sounds that are around me, the people, children, animals. But I can then understand again, like I get more tuned into the seasonality of where we are and how like, okay, it smells like snow. You can almost smell it. It's just weird, but I feel like sometimes my mom and I always talk about you can almost smell snow when it's about to snow. And there's this tuning in to your environment that really helps us cascade over your body of a better, deeper awareness of who we are within our own, we're able to kind of face the world a little bit better because we're not maybe
Hmm.
so reactionary. We kind of take things in and just say, okay, I have the ability and the agency to act or react to certain things. So how do you step into that when you're a little bit more aware of the quiet and listening with your whole body too? It's not just your ears. It's
Hmm.
listening.
Right.
What does it feel like on your skin? Do you have this like intuitive kind of sense of like, there might be danger? I feel like there's someone walking way
Mhm.
too close to me. So when we're plugged into all of our devices, our ears, and we're looking at something, we're not really tuning into our environment. So the more we can kind of almost see with our, peripheral vision or get that sense of someone behind us, you can't do that when you're plugged into technology. It's impossible to do. So
So you're saying being more observant, like, and being maybe more present in the world that we're in. It's funny what you say about the podcast listening because I started that in COVID. I started walking because what else did we have to do? And going on long walks, and I was not really a podcast listener before that, so I started listening while I walked, and I really liked learning things while I was out having a walk, and it inspired me to start this podcast. But I've stopped doing that. I've started walking without the earbuds, as you say, just because you do, absorb more when your senses are open, when your eyes and ears and your skin, as you say, when you're just kind of more open to what's happening. I also live in a city and it's not as crazy as New York City, but there's always something going on. It's not like there's the absence of anything. So pay attention to your world a little bit and be in it, not just moving through it.
oh, that's such a good point. That's such a good point. We're witnesses to our own life. We're not really even a part of it because we're so absorbed in everything, like these boxes that we live in. I always talk about the boxes, thinking we have to get out of the box. But when we do give ourselves that time, like you just said, that walk now has become just a nice walk for you. Because when I'm at home, I'll listen to podcasts when I'm like cleaning my apartment or when I'm taking a
Right.
shower, I'll like play it in the bathroom or moments where I can kind of multitask in a way. But I want to enjoy the podcast. But you're right. I think there's just the witnessing of life, but being a part of it is so important because when you get to notice things in a small, small way, it's like, wow, that's beautiful. You see how big the world is and how small we really are and how super connected. That's why when we sense someone's energy around us, it's honestly real. There's so much science around
Mm.
that. So how do we show up for not just ourselves, but the people in our life that we want to give ourselves and the gifts that we were given, how do we then share those gifts with other people? We can't really do that if we're so disconnected from our own bodies. There's a real gift to it. And it's beautiful when people show up really authentically who they are. The self-awareness is really profound.
Oh, yeah, totally. And I think on the self awareness front, I'm realizing I'm not the great multitasker I think I am. Like, like you said, you can shower and have a podcast, and you can do both of those well. You can listen to the podcast and clean yourself. But the idea that we're going to absorb the podcast message or the music that we're listening to, and also observe all the things in our environment as we're out and make observations and question, why is that happening? You're probably not really able to do that. We've all been even in the car driving somewhere, and a few minutes later, you're like, wait, how did I get here? What have I been doing? You're sort of on autopilot. And I think, and we're, driving big machines when we do that. I feel like a lot of our life, we're on autopilot.
That is the key point. You just said it. Our lives are on autopilot. We're just so programmed to do certain things every day. So how do we break that program up? Not necessarily buy anything for the new year or ourselves, but just like, how do we shake ourselves out of that mundaneness of life? How do we say, oh my God, I really want to enjoy this, and notice those little tiny little micro moments of beauty throughout our day? Really then kind of shift stuff, saying, wow, that felt good. I was able to see something so beautiful because I looked up, or I wasn't on my phone and I was looking at the window, or I was walking and I saw this beautiful colored sky, or I saw something that was so unique, or a hawk fly over, or whatever it might be that makes you stop to say, oh, that was really beautiful. And it doesn't have to be big, but those micro moments really kind of shift your brain into a place of gratitude and positivity. And especially if we're having a tough time, or we're anxious or depressed over something, or we have little, these emotions that come with life, grief, what have you. Those micro moments of joy and beauty really help us shift that mind into a place of gratitude. And we all need that right now.
I think it's important what you say, Jennifer, about leaving space for the grief as well as the joy. I mean, we tend to want to shut off our feelings and only have the positive ones, but that's not really realistic either, is it?
It's really not. That's like the things that we carry as humans. We understand love, joy, and grief, and all of them are equally important. And you're right. I think the grief part is what people say, I don't want to, it's too messy, or it's dirty, or it's
Uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable. People say, I don't know how to react to someone who's going through something that's really hard. I mean, I'm personally, I had to recognize that over a year ago. I didn't ask for help. I was taking care of my uncle who was sick for a year, and I was primarily the sole caretaker, and I didn't realize the weight that it had. And I didn't reach out to friends to say, I need help. Mentally, I need help because I'm really suffering here. And the grief was so heavy that I didn't even understand how it was affecting my own body. So
how did that end? What happened?
So I think, when he finally passed last year, he also only lived a few blocks away from me. So I spent a lot of my life with my uncle. And when he passed away, I just declared, I said, I need to find a way to better understand my own body during grief. And how do I get through that and never shut people out again? Because a lot of my friends said, I didn't know you were I didn't know how heavy that was for you. And I didn't tell anyone, because again, it's not easy to kind of share with people, saying, now this year I said to people, my girlfriend, I said, listen, I'm going to have to be calling you if anything happens, because I needed people, but I recognized it. I wrote a lot last December when he passed. I spent a lot of time writing, and like the journaling that you were talking about is really important to kind of also reflect back on how you're feeling, when you're feeling it, and why. And then how do you grow from there and understand your own self, and saying, I am bearing witness to the most beautiful experience of life, which is also death. And I was privy to that. And I was lucky enough to witness that transition, and I'll cry talking about it because it was such a beautiful, hard 10 days at the end. But I kind of get to take that with me for the rest of my life as this beautiful gift. So how do I show up for other people to say, that's a beautiful gift. Don't shy away from it. And how do we support each other during times of grief? Because it's a human process. Grief is a human thing.
So let's talk for a moment about journaling. I mean, the idea of it, writing things down, seems so key, but then I never know what to do with it. Like, do I go back and read it tomorrow? Do I read it once a week, once a month? When, how long do you do it? What's your process that works for you?
You would laugh. I mean, Lisa, to see the stack of notebooks, I've always written. I even have a diary from, I used to write even as a child. So I'd keep I called the diaries back then. I had a diary from like first grade on. So I wrote almost every day.
Amazing.
Most of my childhood. So it was kind of always a part of my life to write, but and it helps me then process. I do like mostly, I don't look back month to month. I usually look sometimes I'll kind of flip back and see what I was doing 6 months ago, or I don't really have a process, but every year, December, I like to look back at the year and see what I was thinking or
Hmm.
feeling around certain things. Because I have journaled my entire life, and it has helped me look back and say, wow, that was something really incredible. I didn't think about. I didn't appreciate how big of a mountain I just climbed at the time.
Hmm.
I get to look back and say,
Right.
"Wow, I should have that was really hard. It's really hard, or it was challenging, or those micro moments again of things that I feel like I accomplished or did. And we need to kind of appreciate those and also work through them internally.
I know for me, the writing of something is what helps me remember it. But so you have the thought, that's one. And then writing it down kind of makes it more real or helps me remember it. But then thirdly, going back to reread it, I think is the piece that I'm missing and should do more of because it is very revealing if you're honest in what you write.
Yeah. And you have to be honest and not feel like someone's going to take this journal from you. Cause I think a lot of people I've talked to, and we talk about journaling, they say, oh, I'm afraid someone's going to find it, or if I'm going to be judged if it was found. And I think, well, yeah, I understand that, but this is your private, and plus it's important to write them and not to type them.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that handwriting really we remember more when we handwrite. So we remember less and less of more technology we use. So the handwriting, that pen to paper is really, really important.
No, I still keep lists, and my kids laugh at me, but I'm like, I got my lists for today. And that's just, I know I'm old, but that works for me. And you have to do what works for you.
I have all my notebooks, like different ones for different things.
Uh-huh.
So yeah,
Right.
all around me. Yeah, but it's good. You have those lists and you have ideas of things that you want to accomplish, whenever. So yeah, it's great.
I had this thought recently. Are they teaching kids how to write in school anymore? Do they have cursive? I wonder. Do you know?
Well, I heard that they're getting rid of laptops now in a lot of the
Mm.
classrooms, and they're saying the kids that grew up with just laptops in the classroom are really struggling. So I think the studies have come out that they need to write again because kids don't know how to actually do cursive. They don't know how to.
That's what I mean. Like, they're not going to know what we're talking about pretty soon. I'm glad. I'm glad to hear that educators are already realizing maybe that's not the best way. Speed is always the best solution. So let's talk a little about stimulation versus nourishment. The idea of, you know, performing, but it doesn't mean that you're present. We're like always putting things on Instagram now and, kind of posing for the camera all the time, as opposed to sort of living in the moment. We're all guilty of it, right? But it makes stress for us.
They're micro stressors in the body because we didn't evolve to become a me, 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 me. Like that's not who we are. Yet social media rewards the more me, 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 because if you show
Mhm.
your face, show your body, you show certain things in social media, you'll get more attention. You'll get raised in that algorithm. So if we're performing for an algorithmic model, whatever it's saying that you should be posting. So yeah, it's a really interesting thing about like performative nature versus authentic. Like, why? Why do you share what you share? Because you find something beautiful or you love it or it's a hobby or you're showing your gifts. It's hard to you have to back up a little bit, say, okay, why am I posting these things or why am I liking the things that are, I mean, don't get me wrong. I love TikTok and I watch TikTok videos. It feeds me the things I like. Dog videos, baby videos, lots of
Yeah.
funny things. So I like those things. So it's going to feed me more. But you're right. We have to think about the performative nature of what we're doing because we evolved as a we, not as a me. So we kind of deplete ourselves when we keep performing for something that's an algorithm. It's a machine. We're ultimately performing for a machine. And when we kind of look
Mhm.
at it that way, we say, that's weird. That's how did we evolve to perform for a machine that doesn't care about us whatsoever? It doesn't give us any benefits, maybe financially for some people if they're paid for followers and comments, but truly nourishment comes from connection from other people. The nourishment cannot come from something that needs to be plugged in. This is what we keep saying. You cannot get
Mhm.
full nourishment and power from something that needs to be plugged in. We are all powerful. Human beings are powerful people in a sense that we have the ability to rest and restore ourselves, to understand our space, to share But that whole performative thing we have to really reflect on and understand, why do we share what we share? Again, is it
Mm.
performative because, oh, I was there, look at me here, look at me.
So much of that.
There's a lot of that. There's a lot of that. So I always try and help people reframe. Like, do we share images that like, I always try and share a lot of images of like me with the space around me. So if I do share them, like, I want to feel like they can be there with me. They're seeing the same
Mm.
with me.
That's a good concept. I was reading about how, like the concept of identity fragmentation, where we are different people for different audiences or segments. And I mean, I suppose that's a natural thing to do. You're different in your home than you might be when you walk on a stage in front of a few hundred people. But which one's the real one, right? I mean, I think you might lose yourself in all of these, my various Instagram and Facebook and TikTok presences and your followers. And where's me in all of that?
Yeah, that's so interesting, Lisa, because when I was a kid, I wanted to be an archaeologist. I was saying I was going
That's
to
so great.
I loved it. I love the Egyptian culture. I love everything about history. I'm a history nerd, but I've started really studying, especially like Egypt and women in Egypt and how women had so many different roles and they wore these different, you had different headdresses and you thought about how they were portrayed as mother, as wife, it was all part of the community. So you can wear all these different hats when you're a part of a community. But like when you said, when we're putting hats on for performative purposes because maybe I do something different on LinkedIn than I do on Instagram because that's what we've been told. That's me. That's what we've been taught. Marketing is saying you need to have different messages on all these different platforms. So it gets exhausting because it's not natural for us. It's not natural for us to perform. So it is a lot of, oh, I have to do this. And it's heavy because we're not meant to be performers on different platforms. We're supposed to be fully encompassed humans giving to our direct community, our family, ourselves, our colleagues, whatever that is. We wear different hats, but it shouldn't have to be in a performative way, if that makes sense.
It does make sense, but we've been driven to it by measurement, right? And so, we all started wearing, I have one, a Fitbit, and I looked at my steps or how did I sleep? And, for a while I was really watching it a lot. I don't now. It's like, oh, once in a while I check what's my heart rate, whatever. But you become this bunch of numbers that you are working to or trying to live to rather than it reflecting what you do. And there's good in that too, right? I mean, maybe you need to move more and it's an incentive for you, but we are measuring so many things about our lives that it may be the undoing of us. What do you feel about that?
Oh my God. I'm so glad you're bringing this up because it's funny that you're saying this. I was just given a gift over Christmas and I have it next to me because I'm going to get these fixed. So my mother gave me my grandmother's watch from the 1920s and it's an Art Deco
Beautiful.
beautiful piece. I thought, okay, goodbye Fitbit or goodbye mine whenever I catch Apple for a while because I mean, to be able to wear something from my grandmother's, that's a beautiful Art Deco. So we are biohacking our lives to death, literally. We're so programmed to think that we have to be wearing all of our devices to keep track of, are we getting enough sunlight? Are we getting enough green time? It's overwhelming. So I try and say we need to think about bio-remembering versus biohacking. So I
Mm.
really believe that the super intelligence is within our own bodies. So I kind of know when I'm not walking enough or I'm not getting enough movement because I feel so lethargic. You kind
Mhm.
of start to know your own body once you really listen. There's such a profound power in that bodily intuition, but we're biohacking ourselves to pieces or I'm not getting enough sleep. I'm not getting enough steps, but yes, and there are, of course, great aspects to understanding your own health. So I love to know, how is my blood count? How's my
Mhm.
oxygen level? Am I doing the right thing? So I think there's a balance, like what you're saying, like there's a good balance between me keeping up and then maybe an incentive to keep those steps going and that walking or running or whatever it might be. Those are important. But I just want people to also get a little bit more inward and not biohack yourself to oblivion where now you're stressed about it. Cause I remember like for a while, I took my Apple Watch off because I wasn't getting enough sleep. And then I was frustrating myself because, oh my gosh, look, I only got 4 hours because I can't sleep because of this time of my, life in my 50s, things are changing and I'm not sleeping as well.
Mhm.
So then it would frustrate me. So there's that. So I took it off for a long time and I don't wear it as often. So you have to kind of just let yourself just be and not worry about the measurements every single minute of every day.
Well, it's progressed over time, I guess. How many years have we had these things? 5 or 10 years. And it felt, efficient or healthy to like, oh, know our data. But like all things, you can take it too far or for too long. And then you get that stress burnout of being a slave to a bunch of numbers. And then we can measure our heart rate and with some accuracy how much we slept, certainly how much we've walked or run or done exercise. But there's plenty of things in the day that we can't measure with an algorithm.
Yes, that's exactly it. I mean, you're in the business. You see all of the apps, you see all the technology, you see all the people that are creating great things, but that's exactly it. There's so many things in our lives that are not measurable, that bring us such great health, that bring us such great ability to just breathe. And we can't measure that. Even if it's just seeing a sunrise or a sunset, what's the ROI on that? It's everything. But it's,
Mhm.
your return on investment of life, of living and being present and stop, really looking to everything else. It's just the feeling.
Well, we are not optimized systems, right? We are human beings. As your company, Lost Art of Being Human, notes, we have forgotten how to do that. We've just gotten so involved with technology. And it's hard not to. It's compelling. It's fun. I play games on my phone too, but knowing when to put it down. I you probably feel this way. I mean, I move through the world and I don't use my phone in public. I don't look at it on the street, on a bus, on a train. I put it down, but I'm the only one. Everyone around me is, and I always think if an alien came down to Earth and looked at us, they would think like, that this thing is part of us, like attached to us, and we're all staring at it all day. You know how many times someone is walking down the street towards you on their phone and they practically run into you? It's like, hello.
It happens every day. I mean, it happens to me almost every day. The people they slam right in and they do hit you. And then they get mad at you. And
Right.
it's like, wow, I feel bad for that person because they have no sense of their own autonomy of their own body. They've they don't know their body whatsoever. And I think, wow, that's bad. That's really bad. So, and I feel bad for them because they're not aware of what's happening. I mean, they could be attacked. This is also, I
Yeah.
come from like my dad was an FBI agent. My
Mm,
ex was in a SWAT and I have lots of military great men in my life
mhm,
that I've learned a lot from about also, spatial awareness. And my dad taught me a lot as a kid of, listening to your surroundings and being really aware of someone raising their voice behind you or are the steps getting closer? Are they speeding up? And
mm.
just these are superpowers. These are real superpowers that we now have that we're given as gifts as humans. But, all mammals can do these things, but we've kind of given our power away to a few billionaires. So
Mhm.
it's like the superpower now is like innately within you. And I think, oh my gosh, everyone has this. And the more aware you become of your body, you're fearless and you're unstoppable and you're able to do things that most people can't do anymore. I get excited about it because I'm like, oh my God, we all have these gifts. Let's just celebrate them.
I'm thinking, what's so important that you need to be reading this right now? Like, are you on your way to the hospital? Is there, like, what is the urgency of this news that can't wait? But I would say for me, something I've learned in aging is more patience. And I am able to say, I'll look at it later. And I'm good with that. My husband always teases me. If you gave me a gift and said it was for my birthday, I'll put it down and I'll open it on my birthday and it'll be there. And I just think the news we need will come to us when we're ready, but I don't have that insatiable appetite that I have to know it every second because I don't I don't know. Maybe because we're getting older, we've learned we can step back a little bit, but I do I do think that we have as humans, and I mean, I travel the globe as you do, and it's no different in any other country, in Hong Kong, in Tokyo, in Moscow, in Riyadh, they're all on their phones. Everyone is on their device, as we call it. So we're, measuring ROI on all these random numbers without, I think that these devices, maybe the next generation, will measure the moments of awe, AWE or AA, in a day, like, oh, great sunset, like you said, or I enjoyed that wave, or I saw that bird fly over. We're not capturing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And those little kind of things should be in our brain of, wow, so when I see like yesterday morning seeing snow and I wasn't expecting it, it was so beautiful. I thought, wow, this
Mhm.
is so cool because I love snow and to kick off the new year. I was so, it's like 6 o'clock in the morning on New Year's Day. And I was so excited just to witness the snow because it's fleeting anymore in New York City. We don't get as much snow.
No, we don't either.
And we have to be present. And like you just said, everyone, no matter where we are in the world, we're so programmed because everyone's telling us we should. I always say we can be shoulded to death. We should be doing this and you shouldn't be
Mhm.
doing that. Just say, okay, do I have to? Like what's best for me might not be best for you. So we have to really listen to ourselves and know who we are before we step into more technology. Before we I always say, especially with the, I created Lost Art of Being Human right after ChatGPT was launched because I could see this path that was going. And I was a
Mhm.
little concerned that people weren't learning enough about themselves first before they go head into AI. Because we can't take care of ourselves if we don't understand ourselves and we're going to all of a sudden give all of our power to a machine to know more about us than we know. And it's just, I thought we need to kind of step back and learn about ourselves much more so
Mm.
than we are right now. So I know I went off on a tangent there. I'm sorry. Sorry.
No, no, it's actually a really important one because we have to think about the, the commercial aspect, right? I mean, to be commercial, most people listening to this podcast are probably wellness professionals in some capacity. And we all know this, and yet how do we bring it into our business? I mean, if I'm a spa, I can ask people to give me their phone when they go back into the quiet area, but how can we have an impact in a broader way through our industry on helping people regain their humanity?
It's a multi-pronged approach for sure. It really, really is. And just to
Hmm.
think about, even wherever the spa might be, I always talk to different spas about, are you honing in on the message of where that place is? Like, do you acknowledge the land? Like what was there beforehand or what was a land before it was built with a spa or this hotel or
Hmm.
whatever? When you start thinking about that and what was it like before and then you kind of connect those dots to what it means to be human in that place and how do you honor the nature there and the food culture there and interweave all the stories. There's so much profound storytelling through the spa industry and through hotels and hospitality that I think that gets overlooked because that's where the beauty is like, oh, I love historic spaces. Like I love going to Mohawk because of the history there. The Mohawk Mountain House is
Hmm.
so special because I love the rich history and all the storytelling they do on the walls of all people that have been there and what they did there. And it's just, how do we interweave the personal aspects of feeling and the emotion, not just biometrics and not just, optimization, but also the story that brings you there and why you feel good there. We have to remember that.
It's very important to capture that and to remind people. I'm thinking of Preidelhof in northern Italy. They have these strings where people clip notes onto them, and you walk by it on your way to the spa, and there's a lot of them. But people will write a note about how they were feeling that day or what brought them there. And that, I love that. It's like a reminder of it's not another. Bunch of numbers to get on your device, this visit to the spa. It's about reclaiming yourself, going back inside, enjoying the moment, all those things we've been talking about. But we as an industry need to do a better job, I think, of leading our guest into that space of quiet. And, at the same time in the industry, we're going towards technology, using really interesting devices on the body, we have the whole movement for touchless wellness, which has its place, but you still crave human touch.
We have to have human touch. That's the only way we really thrive is we have to be the hug or the touch is so important when it's, consensual, whatever it might be, whether it be a family member or someone else. It's so integral to human health, human touch. So yeah, there's so many opportunities to really involve people in a way that's not really thought about as the old spa way with treatments and what have you, but how do we really help people feel like they're in their bodies again and they're not running to the phone right away and they can actually be present and not think about, oh, am I missing a text or am I missing a message or what's my biometric this moment or this very day? Can you look at the end of the day? How did you do today? And,
Mm-hmm.
just you say, oh, that was good. I moved this part or whatever. We have to just be mindful of how we use anything. Really, it's like any kind of, whether it be a medicine or a drug or what have you, how much are we using of it and how is it benefiting us throughout the day? What are the pros and cons every day of using these technologies?
No, we do. And we do need to find a way, though, in our industry to remind people, our guests, of that. And it's not about what we do to you, but it's about the way you feel when you leave and your mental state. Like yoga. I mean, I'm a regular yoga practitioner, and there's times when I don't really feel like going to class, but I'm never sorry. And I mean, I realize that I go not for the hour on the mat, it's for the rest of the day afterwards that, it's your reset. So I feel like the spa industry has to somehow find a way to make sure we communicate that we can provide that.
Yeah. Yeah. And help people get out of their own heads. That's like you do your yoga. I have like a few different mindfulness practices that I love and I swear by that have really helped me kind of just get out of the monkey brain of all the tasks I have to do.
Hmm. Like what, Jennifer? What are your go-tos?
I have two they're my non-negotiables. One is my everyday practice, which is my walking in Central Park, which I'm going to do after we get off this call. So I'm going to do my walk because I haven't been out yet this morning. But my walking it helps me, and I don't use my phone when I'm walking unless I take pictures of something beautiful or I don't use my phone at all on the walk. I'm just wanting to be there and listen and smell and see all the sights in Central Park. My second one, it might be considered taboo for some people, but I talk about it all the time because I've fallen in love with this practice, and it is the ancient practice of shibari. And I love shibari. It's the ancient Chinese practice of rope tying. So if you want to include this or not,
I
this
do.
but yeah, I mean the BDSM community really took it and ran with it decades ago, but it has really evolved in so many different ways for people. And there's a good community here in New York City that we all, we do shibari. So it's like the tying. So for me, the very first time I tried it, I thought, oh my gosh, I felt like it was a thunder coat, like a dog wearing a thunder coat or like a weighted blanket. And I was so relaxed. I didn't think about anything else. I wasn't anywhere else but in my body at that moment. I thought, this is so relaxing. I'll take this over massage any day. So now I do it once a month, twice a month. If I can do it more.
How long do you do it for?
It's usually like 45 minutes, depending on
Uh-huh.
the tie, like how I'm going to be tied that time. If it's going to be this way, they're all different ways you can be tied. I'm not an expert. I can't do it. I'm not an expert in shibari yet to do it myself. The practice of doing it, it's really, you're just in your body. And it's just so relaxing. It's just.
And do you do it by yourself or with other people?
No, there's with other people. So there are different practitioners that do this. You can be like with a group of people and everyone gets their turn and they perform, it's lots of great questions and consent of like how you're going to be tied and you're okay with this. And it's an artwork. It's beautiful. It's really beautiful. And the way it's done is lots of questions and how you're feeling. And there's no real ties. It's like beautifully roped work. And then when you're just you're in your body and you're taught to just breathe, you're nowhere else. You're really nowhere else. You're just okay, this is great. So I'm trying to help people break that taboo that it's something that is dirty or naughty or awful or wow, oh my gosh. So when I talk about shibari, people are like, you do what? But I absolutely love it. I recommend it to anyone that not everyone feels comfortable being tied. lots of different reasons. But for me, I have fallen in love with you can just even do an arm and just be tied in the arm, or maybe just your legs
Mhm.
or the full body. It depends on what you want. And I think it's fantastic for me.
So it make it does it make you feel connected to the humans you're doing this with because you're putting this trust in them?
Yeah. Yeah. You have to be, I have one person I work with pretty religiously once a month and twice a month if I can. That is, I trust him empirically in so many ways. And of course, I have lots of girlfriends that are there with me as well. We're all very supportive and, your deep breathing practices and how do you feel and you can be held and just all different ways. You have to you have to trust the person. The person has to be very trustworthy and very experienced to make sure you're not going to be hurt. So you have to have an experienced person to make sure, you're still being tied by a rope. So you have to make sure everything's safe. That's for
Right. Well, that sounds fascinating. Thank you for sharing that because I'm sure people will say, what? And they will look it up, and maybe Shibari will get a lot more interest in various places.
I'm hoping it will kind of come out of the closet, if you will. And because it
Mhm.
is to me like, oh, that's kind of taboo. I don't get many people like, oh, what? It's more like, oh, that's interesting. So tell me more why and how and
All right.
why do you like it and what does it feel like? And so, yeah, you can do all different kind of versions of it. But yeah, I hope more spas integrate this because it is an ancient Chinese practice.
There's something about being adventurous. You just try things because you never know what you may be offered a piece of food that you don't really like the look of, and then you eat it and it's like the best thing you ever eat. And you don't know till you try. So I always say to my kids, just try it once. Like if you don't like it, you don't have to do it again, but let's be experimental.
The world likes curious people. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah,
You're
for
rewarded
sure.
to be curious because then you're like, oh, that was a great experience. I'm glad I said yes.
So we've talked a lot, Jennifer, about uh, trust in ourselves, our innate sort of wiring, and it's a thing that we need to reclaim, and that you have built on that. So by calling it natural intelligence as opposed to artificial intelligence, and I like that play on words, you've developed a program around reclaiming that. So could you speak to us a little bit about what is involved in your natural intelligence program?
Yeah. Thank you for even asking because I wasn't planning on for years, Lisa, every time you should, I'll get lots of shoulds. You should teach. You should, maybe offer some classes. I thought, no, I don't, business classes or something. I just never wanted to. But this year, the more time I spoke to women, and I was on the road a lot, speaking at different conferences and groups, and women were speaking out loud to me like I'm exhausted and I feel lost or I'm burnt out, all these things. And I just thought, well, what are you doing? And I'd ask them questions and they said, well, I'm not really doing this or I've not really thought about that. Cause it's always about this checklist of, yes, I did my yoga. Yes, I have my supplements. I'm taking my collagen powder, like all these things that were external. And I thought, well, what about if I could kind of bring you back home? What would that feel like if I
Mm,
could bring people back home to their own bodies? And I've worked with women my entire life. I mean, I've worked with men too, but Beauty Bar was for women mostly. And then
sure.
it's sold products for men. But the biggest driver for me is how do we take care of women in a way that brings them back home? So the Natural Intelligence Program is a program I'll speak at, whether it be a PR firm here in New York or a bank, uh, business or what have you. It's more about like teaching women I have like different elements of natural intelligence, which is beauty as a daily practice. So how do we witness beauty and what does that do for our bodies? We go deep into ancestral intelligence, the original AI, I like to call it, talk about our tone. So how do we speak in a room? So using our bodies as and kind of our bodies are antennas. So how do we speak when we're excited or nervous? Our voices kind of raise sometimes. So how do we kind of lower that temperament and how does our tone
Mhm.
affect a room, whether we're speaking in a boardroom, a classroom, to our kids, to our loved ones? Our tone is really important and we don't even think about it. And I talk about sexuality. I talk about shibari. I talk about different practices that, from the bedroom to the boardroom. So things I've learned along the way from
Mhm.
people that I have been I've met dominatrices in my life and they've taught me different things. I've learned from them, like, what does this do? And, because we're curious. I want to learn how
Uh-huh.
people work and why. And so I talk about that in neuroaesthetics and the biophilic lifestyle. So how do we bring more nature inside? So just like all these little things I've always already talked about, but then just put it into a package of natural intelligence for women. So how do we kind of go back home
Mm.
to ourselves and be present and be aware of our bodies in those places? Because the amount of women I've spoken to just in the past 6 months, I'm in awe and I'm so thankful because so many women have been interested. But the feedback has been I give them permission to just be who they are, but it
Mhm.
may be in a capsule like, oh, okay, that's normal for me to want this or feel this, or do I go inward? Women tend to go inward when we're faced with something. So why is that? Because women tend to go inward. We're inward species. So how do we kind of show up as
Mm.
our real authentic selves and not performative, but real, honest, vulnerable, raw people? And that's where we feel the best when we're actually honest with ourselves. That's when we do our best. That's when we can walk into a room with confidence and say, I'm powerful here because I know
Mhm.
my worth. I know my industry. I know what my standards are. And you do it with the breath of kindness. You lead with
Mhm.
kindness and you lead with empathy because you're more aware of yourself. When you're not in your own body, you cannot help others. You just can't.
You got to pull the mask down first, right? Get your oxygen in the plane first before helping others.
It's hard, Lisa. Yeah. So once you do, it's like, wow, once I started even going deeper into this for myself, I came out because I was going through also menopause and I was like feeling less and less like myself. And as we age, we become smaller because the world is telling us to get smaller. So how do we teach women be like, come on, you're not getting smaller. You are like the most beautiful version of yourself as you age
Mhm.
because look at the life you've lived and all these great experiences and tell me more. So I want people to question their elders. I want people to learn and be curious from our elders like other cultures do. In America, we
Mhm.
kind of put everyone over a certain age away. That's our problem. Like we're losing out. We're the great
Very
gift.
true.
Yeah. So how do we kind of get back to our elders and our bodies, and how do we do these like little micro things around our own lives to be the healthiest version of ourselves for ourselves and our family members?
I'm thinking of this sad thing, which is going to a memorial service for someone you know that has passed. And maybe you know them well, maybe you didn't know them so well. But invariably, when you hear people come up and speak about them, you're like, "Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I wish I'd known more about that." And now it's too late to learn it, right? Everyone has so much more to them than that little bit we present in the public. And there's a lot to be gained by plumbing those depths of people.
So beautiful, Lisa. I'm so glad you said that because that's
Thank you.
exactly it. Because that is like we are performing for a machine. But when we can kind of just show up for ourselves, it doesn't have to be, we don't have to put it out on social media. We can just show up for our colleagues and maybe at a work function but when we are really ourselves, it's so much more profoundly beautiful. The human
Mhm.
experience is beautiful and terrible and everything in between. And to live that scarred life, I think we all have scars. The more scars we have, the better we are at telling and helping people. That's what we should be doing as humans, is showing up for each other in real
For
life
sure.
and not thinking about, being gauged on our social media.
How it looks, right? How it looks to the public. So, if someone wanted to partake of your natural intelligence program, how do they do that?
I have like a sign up sheet on our website, but or they DM me. But basically, I can do like an hour class. I teach like in an office. We'll do an hour class. We can do a half day, retreat at hotels. So we've been doing all different kind of variations of how do we do it for small groups, big groups. We always
Great.
also bring a lot of things outdoors for the walks, the wellness walks. So how do
Mhm.
we integrate movement and sound and taste? And there's lots of elements. It's an active participation class. So how are you feeling? How do you walk? So people are kind of also volunteer to do parts of it. So yeah, it's a lot of fun rediscovering who we are. And I do also depending on the size of the group, I also do a checklist of like, do something before you come to the class, and then you can kind of see how natural intelligence has already affected you or impacted you. And then we can kind of grow from there. So yeah, it's been fun.
Well, check it out, Lost Art of Being Human website, Natural Intelligence. So let's close and talk about how do we do it differently this year? It's 2026. We're talking about the fact that experiences aren't the issue. It's doing them without feeling like you're performing, right? Having experiences without needing to record it and tell everyone what you ate for breakfast. So how do we start off January by saying, here's some things to think about to have a different path for 2026?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of undoing, right? Because we've
Mm,
been doing it for so long of, quantifying our lives through social media or quantifying how good we are because of things. So, but how do you feel in your own body? So it's more of like a checklist for how do you feel today? Did you move your body? Did you have interactions with friends or people that you love? And did you get on the phone with somebody or leave a voice memo and say, thinking about you? Just love you. And, or I'm thinking, just how do we have these interactions of people that lift us and that really these connections of people are what let us thrive and survive and bloom. And that kind of connection is what we need more of because I mean, Lisa, you know it. We see it every day. Like the world is showing us that AI is the most important thing for us to have in our lives. That's what the world's trying to tell us. So
yes.
I try and say, yes, and let's step back and know that something that's inhuman is not going to be the best thing for me. I need humanity to be more human in my life. And how do we we have to be more reflective of what we're looking at too, because now everything's going to be artificial online. We don't know what's
Mm,
real or what's fake. To be
mhm,
very, very cautious, which is also these little when we look at something online, we can kind of tell it's not real, but we don't know. That's a micro stressor on the brain. So now we're
mm,
stressing our brains, looking at images that might be real, but now we're questioning if it is. These are micro little traumas of stress to the brain all day, every day. So the reason you're
mm.
being exhausted by the end of the day, because we're looking at stuff that's, is it real? Is it not? And we're not supposed, that's not normal. That's not normal for the brain to take in. So when you say, okay, I don't need that, how do we reframe 2026 with a more present body in the spaces and places we go and the people that we're with and just being aware and being present? It is your superpower. It will help you grow in ways that other people that are going down the road of just AI lives will be much better off because we are more in tune with our own bodies.
Sure. Yeah, you're right. We have this element of mistrust now. I know I do when I'm scrolling through Instagram and I see an image that looks really interesting or like too good to be real. And then I think, well, it probably isn't real, right? But you're always questioning now, which is a higher level of discomfort, than the enjoyment we used to get out of just seeing the images.
Yeah, that uncanny valley that we have in our bodies because we know it's not real. So uncanny valley is that kind of it's trying to be real, but it's not, and we kind of know but we don't. And now knowing that 2025 will be the last year in human history that we were able to decipher if something was real or not, that's now gone. That's gone.
Mm,
So 2026 is the first year in human history that we will now never know. We'll never know. That's mind boggling to me.
hmm
So that in itself, we had to say, okay, what is this? So if I'm going to be online all the time, I'm looking at scrolling social media. Is that benefiting me? Is that really fulfilling me and giving me something positive? If I'm just looking at fake images, how is that helping me? And it's not. So I'd rather live my life fully than spend it looking at fake things online. I mean, there's no benefit there.
That's true. I wonder what the path will be, but we are seeing people turn away from so much social. I'm glad people are realizing, this is not the path forward for humanity to be absorbed in our devices all the time. So it's going to be a slow slog, but I mean, AI, as you said, it's here to stay and it has its great moments, but we do need to put it away and rely on, as you say, your ancient intelligence too. I love that. I love that phrase. Well, thanks again for joining us, Jennifer Walsh. Nice conversation. I hope we give listeners something to think about for 2026. Scary, but it's within our own powers to do something about it.
We're lucky. We have these incredible intelligent gifts within us. It's just a matter of actually activating them because like you said before, like it's that amnesia. that we have,
Mm.
the apathy, and we're just not aware of it. So I appreciate you, Lisa, and thank you for having me because I love what you do and I love listening to you and your podcast and your guests. I always learn something new every time I tune in. So I'm honored to be here in 2026 with you. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Coming from you, that's high praise. So I appreciate it too for all that you do, Jennifer. Check out Jennifer's website again, Lost Art of Being Human, or any of the number of other places you can find Jennifer Walsh, maybe on a walk in Central Park. And I'm sure I'll see you probably in New York later this month. All right, everybody, have a good January.